Well, originally the studio was a warehouse. Those buildings were built in the 1780s as part of a whole sort of network of buildings which are for the loading and the unloading of barges and the supplies of goods, small valuable goods for the town, you know, providing foods, things. Well, the studio moved in this area in the 70s, the mid-70s, and the studio came in a little bit in that wave of invasion, if you like, that it needed a space to create workshop, carpentry workshops, sewing workshop, costume making workshop, and a space for stage, for the facility that is here, which is for filming stage. It also needed a space for the library, for the reference library, for all those things. So it made complete sense for this kind of infrastructure to use a space like here, which had gone completely in disuse.
I often used to come past this place when I lived in Greenwich, and I used to think, God, I'd like to get in there, especially after I'd seen, of course, Little Dorrit. And I came here on the open house day, because anybody who's interested in this place, it's open for Saturday and Sunday of London Open House Week. And you can come and be shown around, and it's just, you know, I just fell in love with it, as one would. And of course I've always respected Christina's work immensely, and the fact that it is, without doubt, you know, the finest costume house now in this country.
I came to Sands Films in 1977. It was also the beginning for me of a new career. It gave me the opportunity to create, and it was a great thrill to find out that you could do things with your hands, and those things that you could do with your hands was appreciated by other people. I'd never done it before, I'd never worked in films before, so the whole lot to me was new, and to realise how much work actually went into making a film was even more surprising.
It's great, it's a very inspiring building, and I think I suppose we take it all for granted once you work here, but it's always very exciting to see people who haven't been here before and being quite inspired by it and very enthused, not by necessarily the people here, but just by the environment. I think that's incredibly important. People come here because they know we have a particular look.
The thing which is important about this building is that it is an integrated place for making films. It puts under one roof a whole collection of facilities and things which makes it possible to make films. It helps people making films, it makes it possible for us to make films. The concept of a studio is ultimately a kind of toolbox for making films with all the resource and all the things that you need at your disposal to do it.
It does everything. This is a studio, so I'm told, based on the original studios, because everything is done in-house. And so you're not clamped down by having to go all the way around the world to get bits and pieces you want. It's done here. And for example, in Little Dorrit, in the Glenham's house, the wedding party, the grass was made here. The grass was actually done. It was all put on mats and it wasn't bought in. You could have easily gone down the road and got to some greengrocer's fella and got some of their grass that they have. But no, it was done here, everything. Even the roses that went around the cottage door set were tweaked individually, every single one, you know. And all the marble was made here, the pilasters, marble staircase, wrought iron, rounded up, everything made on the premises.
Having moved here over a year ago, the one thing which I loved about the studio was its interaction with the local community. The fact that every day you can walk around a corner and you'll find yourself in the middle of a period drama, the fact that the buildings themselves are complete enclave and totally different to the local environment. You are completely enclosed off in an environment which is peaceful, quiet, hidden away, and something which has not been ruined by the kind of globalisation of London. There's so many other parts such as Camden, Hoxton and Shoreditch. I think it would be a loss to not only the British film industry, but I think it would be a huge loss to Rotherhithe in general. I couldn't imagine anything worse than waking up in the morning and looking out the window and seeing a Starbucks instead of seeing Sands Film Studios. The whole ethos of the place and the entire environment which it creates around it creates such a lovely, relaxed, calming area of London. It's just a wonderful place to be a part of, and the studio itself really is the heartbeat of the area of the Rotherhithe and Thames Tunnel Mills and Brunel Museum.
This is the first time I've used Sands Studios, and we looked for quite a while for a location for a place that was suitable to do these interviews, which are very sensitive interviews, and we needed to find somewhere firstly that was completely quiet, and that's very difficult. When you start looking in London, you realise how few places there are that are completely quiet. And also we wanted to find somewhere where people would be at ease when they arrived, and that they could sit and have cups of tea and just feel relaxed, because obviously we're asking them to talk about something that's potentially very upsetting for them, so we wanted it to feel a kind of comfortable place, and it's been brilliant on both those scores. The atmosphere has been just you can tell there's a sort of rich, creative atmosphere here, and that is just really nice to be part of that. You feel like you're kind of in the right place to be doing something interesting and creative.
The whole purpose of this library is to provide reference sources for the filmmaker, really, of all kinds. And there are 3 collections here. There's the Rotherhithe local history collection. There's this enormous collection of everything from architecture through to disasters, through to sports and pastimes and theatre. And there's a Southwark collection, which is founded in the 1970s, of research from all over the world. And then there's another very precious collection of textile samples from Paris warehouses from 1900s to the 1950s. Well, the library was set up by Christine Edzard and her husband Richard Goodwin as a research source for their film company, Sands Films. And it's based on the picture library at the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris, because Christine was brought up in Paris. So in this room, you could start off with going to society, leisure, a race meeting at Chantilly in France in 1890s. You could see people having a picnic in wonderful clothes, but you need to know what they're eating. You need to know what their servants are wearing. You know what kind of carriage they've got. You know what kind of horses they've got. You need to know what kind of knives and forks and glasses they're needing. And in this room you could find all that out.
Well, we run a film club here once a week on Tuesday night. It's started a few years back as a mean to revisit films that maybe we saw many years ago, and which contributed to our passion for films. And then invariably what happens is that you work all the time, and the running of the company and running of the studio is so intensive that you end up never having time to go to the cinema, never going out, never seeing things. And the film club was an opportunity to rediscover and to revisit those films. Well, the film club became very successful. It has a membership of about 1,500 people, and it's a combination of film professionals and local people. But what makes cinema really different is watching it with a live audience, and so having a film club makes that possible. What's happening to Sands Film? I mean, Sands Film as a company is very successful, and has a lot of work and never been out of work, and is actually, despite all the sort of massive crisis taking place in the country and in the city generally, Sandsfilm, because Sandsfilm supplies services to rather than is involved in producing films, it's usually is, you know, it's a very successful company. However, it doesn't own the property we've occupied, and the owner, which is an asset management company, has come to the idea that the property would be more valuable without us. So we've had to structure something which allowed us to buy the place. We need to buy the asset. We need to buy the property if we want to be protected from redevelopment schemes, basically, and that we've achieved that. I mean, we've achieved reaching an agreement with the landlord that we can buy. We've agreed a price. We've signed a contract, and what we have to do is to raise the money to buy the property, and we're issuing shares in the company so that we can raise the capital required to buy the property. If we don't complete the purchase, there's no more Sandsfilms.
When I heard about the petition which was being sent around by Olivier with regards to saving the studios, I was very much in a mind to be active with it. Unfortunately, financially, I wasn't able to actually aid, but I was certainly there on the petitions and will carry on to help in any way that I can to make sure that this place does not get shut down.
Anyone who loves the history of dress would be wanting to keep this place going, not just because of the place, but the fact that these wonderful talents of Christina and Olivier and all their staff are associated with such a wonderful environment, which I think I would imagine to you young people is like a time warp, isn't it? It's like a sort of wonderful film set in itself. And I think the two together, if you imagine transposing all the idealism of Christina and Olivier about their work into some terrible modern industrial unit, it would be absolutely heartbreaking. And so the longer this place flourishes as it is, obviously the better.
Well, I really am not in a position to discuss that matter for the simple reason that I never take part in it. And I go along merrily as though nothing else happens around there. Christina and Oliver, they bear that burden. And I have to say they bear it without any grudge to anybody else. Their determination to keep this place running is how it's running. It's been running on determination, if not money. There may not be much money about, but there's certainly plenty of determination. And they've continued to work, continue to make costumes for films, and continue to do films here. Everything that was necessary.
It's just simply not going to happen. We're going to buy the place. We're going to find a way out. It's unthinkable to let it go and not actually save it. Now, Sandsfilms cannot. It's not a business that can relocate and just be plonked into another area and another industrial estate, because too much of its character is linked to the character of this building, and too much of its unique service is linked to the way we've invested this building and the way we are in occupying this and creating all this sort of mix of services and supplies within one place. So we couldn't recreate that elsewhere, and so it cannot be moved, if you like. It can't be reinvented elsewhere.
Talk to us briefly about where you think the future of Sandsfilms lays.